So what do you say we spend a little time in the garden today? All right, all right, all right. The weather has finally given us a break. All the rain that we had the last couple weeks looks like it's out of here for a little bit. It's supposed to be really, really nice this week. It was a little cool this morning, around 40 degrees or so. We're supposed to get on up to 80 maybe later this week, which means we got to get ready for planting. So I got a lot of stuff to do to catch up on this week because really haven't been able to spend a lot of time in the garden the last couple weeks. So a lot of stuff to do to get ready to plant stuff. You know, we usually start planting around here for spring in early to mid-March. So that's only a week or two away. So got a lot of stuff I got to do. And today I kind of want to walk you through what we're going to be doing, how we're going to be doing it, getting ready to put stuff in the ground for spring. So first off, we've got this little patch right here that's just been itching to get planted for a couple weeks now, but it's just been too wet. But I've got some cabbage, broccoli, cauliflower and stuff in the greenhouse that's ready to go in the ground. So on a future video, maybe later this week, we're going to be getting some of that stuff planted right here in this spot that's ready to go. Over here we've got our ultimate cover crop cocktail. So contrary to what the title of this video might have made you believe, this is not grass. This is beautiful, lush cover crop cocktail we've got in here. Got a little bit of variation as far as the height of it because I did just strow this by hand. So when we were mixing all that stuff together, some of it filled in some spots better than others. But here we've got winter rye, which is what you see, the real tall stuff there. We've got hairy vetch, Austrian winter peas, and got some brassicas in here, some African forage cabbage, and some impact forage collards. So you can see the brassicas right there. And those were helpful in the beginning because they provided some really good, quick ground cover for weed suppression. Now they have since kind of been taken over by the rye, the peas, and the vetch, but those were an important part of this cocktail early on to get some good ground cover. We can look here, we can see those peas right here. You can see those pea leaves, and then you can see that vetch right there, and it just starts kind of climbing all over everything. Winter rye looks really, really good. Some of it is starting to go to seed. So we definitely want to do something with this before that happens. You can see a seed head on that guy right there. But looking back on just this, what we call the ultimate cover crop cocktail, really happy with how it turned out. Really nice lush growth there. Should have some really good nitrogen fixation in the soil. And it's time to get this incorporated. So we need to mow this down, and it's probably going to take a few runs with the tiller. This winter rye can take a little more cultivation than some other cover crops to kind of extinguish, but lots of good biomass there that we can mix into the soil. So if this cover crop was a little shorter, I would take my push mower with a mulching deck and just chop it and drop it. Another good solution would be to borrow Dad's flail mower on his BCS, but he's 20 miles away and I don't really have time to go grab that right now. So I'm just going to take my 0-turn riding mower and try to keep all the stuff we cut, you know, within that plot there. Kind of just go around the perimeter there and work my way in so I don't blow all that good biomass everywhere. Kind of keep it right there on top of that plot. So let's do that and see what it looks like. All right, so we got her cut down. Took a couple passes with the mower there, one on the highest setting, and then I dropped her down, dropped the deck down to about 2.5 inches there, and you can really see now the amount of ground cover that cover crop provides when it's planted thick like there. Just nice green material all over the soil there. See that good stuff there that we chopped up. And we'll be incorporating that into the soil pretty soon, just to give you an idea of the comparison there between after it's mowed. This is where we'll be planting our sweet corn, and still a little ways out on that. That won't be one of the first things I plant, so I'm going to leave that. I don't really see any seed heads out there on that piece, but this piece here where we're going to be planting some squash and cucumbers soon, we want to go ahead and get it ready. But man, that's just pretty right there. So we'll be cultivating this soon. We'll make one pass with a tiller, give it a few days, and then probably make one more pass, get it nice and ready to plant. So let's skip on over to the other side of the barn and take a look at 2 more plots that we need to incorporate the cover crops on. Now these were planted later than this plot here, so the foliage is not as tall and lush, but we still got some nice coverage. Let's go take a look. Now right now it's kind of hard to tell that there are 2 distinct plots here, but that one over there is about twice as long as this one right here, which is my smallest plot. And I was doing an experiment here to see if it really mattered whether you rake in the cover crop into the soil or just throw it on top of the soil. A lot of people said, oh, you don't need to cultivate the soil, you don't need to rake it in, just throw it on top and it'll go. But some interesting results we see here. So the cover crops really only came up where those corn rows were. So this is where our fall sweet corn was, and I just mowed those stalks down and ripped up the drip tape there, and that's the only place where you see the cover crop really thriving. It didn't even really germinate or come up here between the rows. Where the rows are, where there was some fertility, and also where the soil was broken up some from ripping up that tape, we see we got decent germination. So what this tells me is that you do need to rake it in somewhat. Just doesn't, or didn't for us at least, germinate and come up on that compacted soil there between the rows. So here we've got a cocktail of frosty berseem clover, forage collards and forage cabbage. You can see the clover right there, and you can see those brassicas right there. Now it looks really good where that soil was broken, but nothing where it wasn't. So lesson learned there. If we compare that to this plot over here where we cultivated it and then raked it all in, we can see we've got much better coverage right here. Now this is a little bigger. The cover crop plants themselves are a little bit bigger, probably because they were feeding off all that nitrogen that was left in the soil from growing that corn there. Whereas these didn't have as much fertilizer or nutrients in the soil from the previous crop, because we just had a cover crop of sunflowers here before. But a lot better coverage on this plot here. This is where we'll be planting our tomatoes, peppers, and eggplant. So I probably don't even have to mow this because it's kind of short. You can see it there. It's only 4 or 5 inches tall. So I probably can just come in here and cultivate this and skip the mowing step. But interesting results nonetheless, comparing that versus that, not raking it in versus raking it in. And another thing that's not really related to vegetable gardening that I got to finish doing pretty soon is trimming these muscadine vines here. So this muscadine vine or stretch of vines is about 100 foot long, and who knows when this was planted. Our house was built in the 60s by Brooklyn's grandfather, and these vines have been here a long time. And if you look at this right here, look at that mess, you would think, man, you don't ever trim these things. But I do. I trim them back every year, and they just grow like crazy because these are old established vines. And about every 3 years I have to come in here and really hack them back close. Now I know if you got new vines, there's a strategy to prune them the right way, but with these guys that are established, I just hack them back hard about every 3 years. I don't do as aggressive a pruning every year, but like I said, every 2 or 3 years really have to prune them back. Otherwise you just get this tangled mess here that takes you forever to trim and prune. And this isn't something I try to do all in one day. I just try to split it up, do like a section a day or so, one bite at a time. But we're getting there. I got a few more sections to go here, and hopefully it won't be as bad to trim next year since we're cutting them back so much this year. There's several different varieties along this stretch right here, and That right there, that's a booger. That's just a nightmare there, but we'll get in there and we'll get that cleaned up, and hopefully it'll be a little bit better next year. These things just grow so well down here, and I mean, all that is just last year's growth. It's just crazy how much these things grow, but we'll get them trimmed back and cleaned up the next few days here, get this finished up. There's a little bit of a mess here. I don't wait, and I will wait and get all my limbs up here once I'm done. No point in picking them up a little bit at a time. We'll just rake them all up when we get done. And then the last thing that's really pressing this week, that's got to be done, is we got to get our taters planted. We got, you know, like I said, 5-6 days, dry weather, nice sunny weather, time to get those Irish potatoes in the ground. So in a previous video, I showed you where we tarped this plot right here so that it wouldn't receive all that rain we've been getting in the last week or so. And we use a tarp for several different reasons around here, for, you know, weed suppression, reducing our weed seed bank, terminating cover crops. We can also use it to keep our plots from getting any more moisture from, you know, periods of heavy rainfall. So we've had the tarp on there for about a week or two. It's time to take that tarp off, see how dry our soil is, let some of this beautiful sunlight do its thing, maybe dry it out a little bit more, and hopefully we'll be ready to plant taters in the next day or two. So let me get this tarp off and we'll see what it looks like. All right, let's see what we got here. I should have been a little more careful pulling that tarp off. Some of the water from the tarp got on that end of the plot there. Well, let's see what we got here. It's a little wet, but not near as wet as it could be. It's not like you step in it and sink down to your ankles or anything. So I think the tarp definitely helped with that. And one little cultivation and some sunshine should have this ready to plant in just a couple days. This is pretty good soil here. Still a lot of organic material in there from that cover crop we had. And this should dry out pretty quick and be tater planting time. See that yellow stuff right there? That's pine pollen. That's a sign that spring is close. So if I'm gonna be planting taters in the next few days, I gotta get some taters cut up. It's that time. We like to give them at least a few days, 2 days, 3 days between cutting them up, putting them in the soil, give them time to heal up. So I got to get these puppies cut up. Now I'm not going to be able to plant every single variety that we carried this year on the website, just because some of them we're running short on. So I don't think I'm going to get to plant any of the purple or blue varieties, but I think there's about 6 or so varieties I'm going to get to plant. And in that plot that's 30 by 35, I can usually squeeze 10 30-foot rows of taters in there. And so some varieties will have more than one row, some varieties just one row. So we're going to sit here and look for the eyes on these taters and get them cut up, just 1 or 2 eyes per piece here, and have some nice seed taters. Take a look at that puppy right there. That's some of them German butterballs. Just beautiful color on the inside of those guys. And I got anywhere from 5 to 10 pounds per variety. Usually a 5-pound bag cut up is enough for, say, 20 row feet of taters. Just, you know, depends on how frugal you are with cutting them up. So somewhere between 5 to 10 pounds of each variety that I'm going to plant should be enough for us here. So we're going to get these puppies cut up and let them heal over, and hopefully in a video coming very soon we'll be putting our Irish potatoes in the ground. And hopefully as well, some of you guys out there are enjoying some of this beautiful weather this week across the country. Hopefully you've thawed out and dried out some from that nasty stuff we had the last 2 weeks. And I hope you're as excited as I am about getting some spring crops in the ground, some cool weather crops, cabbage, broccoli, cauliflower, and getting these taters in the ground as well. I'll put a link below to our seed potatoes so you can grab some of those before we sell out. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to give me a big thumbs up. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, and ring that bell so you get notified every time we come out with a new video. And if you did enjoy this one, check out these other 2 videos right here. I think you'll really enjoy those as well. We'll see you next time.